Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So a good few days for us with lots of winners, both for the ratings and also for our analysis, including yesterday we had Sequestered or Sequestered, I don't actually know how you say it, advised when opened at 25s. Even with the Royal 4 you're still getting bigger than 20 to 1 about that horse, and he hacked up, didn't he? So I've gone back through the handicaps. We're going to do this in two videos. We're going to do a handicap video and we're going to do a graded video, or a graded and novice video, looking at the races and trying to work out who could be interesting going forward. Now, I'm splitting them into two videos, as I've said. We start off with the handicaps. Now, the handicaps is an interesting one because it happens in... Yeah, no, it happens more in the graded handicaps. You see a horse win a race, or even finish second in a race, or third, and people come out, analysts, tipsters, punters, whatever, pundits come out and go, well, he'll win next time. He'll win again next time. He'll win next time, etc. I always ignore those comments because how do they know? And what do I mean? Not how do they know in terms of are they going to win? How do they know what they're going to run in? You know, they might have a handicapper who's running off 122 that they think is really well handicapped, and then he runs in grade 1. Similarly, that horse that ran in that handicap of 122, the handicapper might go, yeah, I saw that as well, we're going to put it up £6. Suddenly that £6 is not ideal. It's now going to run off 128. And even, you know, you can get bigger increases for horses, say, that win. A good example is one later in this video, In the Waterside. I think won very impressively. I think is definitely better than 140. It won off 132. I think it could win off 140. But if it gets 13, 14 pounds, I would then be thinking, is there something better handicapped in against it? Because that would be a significant rise in the handicap. So when people jump straight away and try and be clever and go, oh, he's going to win next time, or that'll win next time, keep an eye out for the handicap marks, then have a decision about that. Unless your horse is so comfortably beaten and you believe that there is a reason why it was comfortably beaten. For example, Cheltenham. Cheltenham was beaten 24 lengths here at Aintree. I'm more than happy with that. It was one of those horses that I wrote in a tweet, didn't I? I'm looking out for all of these horses today and I want them all beat. Cheltenham was one of those. Got comfortably beaten, finished 4th of 5. Never really involved under Kieran Gethins. That means the horse has now been beaten off 142 and 139 this season. I think he'll drop. I think he'll drop another £3 for that. I think he'll be back down to 136. Now 136 is actually the last time he won in a handicap chase at Newbury back here. This was winning off 136. He also won the time before that off 130 when beating Can Do Kid. Now Can Do Kid has obviously gone on to win the Coral Gold Cup, also known as the Hennessy. Coral Gold Cup Handicap Chase, also known as Hennessy. So he beat Can Do Kid that day. And that's surely where they're going to be aiming him. It's another race. It's worth 56 grand or 57 grand, just shy of £57,000. He's got great form at Newbury. You can ignore his last time out at Newbury, as in his first run of the season. It was his first run of the season. They had tried to get him a fitness run. They couldn't find one. They ended up going there off the back of 224 days off the track, and he wasn't good enough, or he probably needed to run. I think last time out at Aintree, they've gone to Aintree knowing they'll probably get comfortably beaten. They did last year in December 2023, they went to Aintree. He got beat 47 lengths. He then went to Aintree in April, got beat 38 lengths. They weren't there to win that race at all, were they? They were there to get the horse dropped in the handicap a bit. If he drops down to 136, I would definitely be interested in him in the Greatwood Gold Cup in March. Little way to go. They might think about going one more run, maybe at Kempton, although they did go close at Kempton last time. They ran him there, so they might just save him now straight for that Greatwood Gold Cup. It's worth 57 grand. It's worth waiting for. And even looking at this, look, this was only worth 18 grand. Why would you go and win an 18 grand race when you can get him handicapped, you know, drop in the handicap and aim for a race worth over 3 times more? So that's Cheltenham that I will be keeping an eye out for his handicap mark tomorrow. Second horse that I will be keeping an eye out for is First Street, who ran off 130 here over fences. He is much lower over fences. He's been as high as 152 over hurdles. Is only running off 130 over fences. Now, I don't think Nico de Boinville actually gave him the best of rides here. He gave him far too much to do. And to be honest, if he'd pinged the last, he was only beaten 4 lengths. If he'd pinged the last, he would have definitely finished in the first 3. If not, have really challenged leader in the park. Now, this could have been a we'll just make sure we get round run, because he hadn't particularly done well over fences previously. He'd finished 4th of 6 in a beginner's chase and then 5th of 5 in a handicap chase at Bangor. This was much better. He jumped fine. He was just given far, far too much to do by Nico de Boinville. I'm sure they can find a race for him. Do I want it to be at Cheltenham? Not really. Newbury doesn't look too bad. I'm just looking through some of his form. He's got a win at Newbury. He's got a 3rd in a Betfair hurdle. Yeah, let's see if there is a 2.5 mile race at Newbury. So let's do that right now. And I'll show you how I do this. So first of all, we go to a new tab and we go to Pro Stats. Oh, I just knocked my cup. And then when this loads, it shouldn't take too long. Then what I do is I look for this year, because obviously it's going to be next year. So let's change this to this year. I'm looking in January and I'm looking in February. I want a race at Newbury. It needs to be a chase. It needs to be a handicap. It needs to be, let's go 19 to 20, whoops, not 32, 21 furlongs. Let's have a look. Is there something? You can see that it was already filtering down. Well, that's frustrating. There isn't one in January or February. I know there is one in March. That would be against Cheltenham. Is there anything else it could go? Let's have a little look at all of these. There's 3 races in March. So what are they? They are a novices handicap chase. Well, definitely could run in that. Could run in the novices handicap chase instead, over 2.5 at Newbury. Could also go for the Great Wood Gold Cup against Cheltenham. I would prefer they stick to the novice. Or there is a race at the end of March that Cheltenham actually won. Okay, so that's what I hope they do. They could come to this race instead. Now, Cheltenham won this, but I can't imagine he'll be aimed at this race this year. This is only worth 20 grand. The Great Wood Gold Cup is worth 56. So you run First Street in one of these two. This novice handicap at the beginning of March, or this one at the end of March. And yeah, I think he would take, I honestly think First Street would take all of the beating in both of those. Likely to be dropped slightly in the handicap. Obviously, we've got to see who's in against. You know, we could be in against something ridiculously well handicapped or with a huge amount of ability. But hopefully, if he was to come up against similar type of horses that he ran in against Kempton, I think he would be able to beat those at a track that we know he does perform well at. 3rd in Betfair Hurdle, and has also beaten Grieve Tarner in the Jerry Filden. So that was the second race that caught my eye, horse that I want to be interested in. That's First Street. Moving on to this race, the Roland Merrick. Now, this is one of those that I'm interested in the horse, depending on what the horse is given. Only won by 3/4 of a length, some scopes, so the handicapper might be kind, might only go £3-4 for that. I think there's still more to come from this horse. He is lightly raced. He's only 6. I imagine we'll see him back at Doncaster, probably for the race in January. It's not worth as much money as the Grimthorpe. They might go, we've won that race, let's save him for the Grimthorpe. But he's one that I'll be keeping an eye out for his handicap mark tomorrow. Anything less than, say, 5 would be ideal for some scope. Patriotic in the 140 at Aintree that day. Got to go back up to 3 Mile. Isabel gave him a reasonable good ride. From what we could see, he was a long way back. Started to make ground, and then ran on strongly into second. Now, interestingly, the winner actually made all the running that day, and I wonder whether Isabel was just a bit too far back. She passed everything else apart from the horse that made all the running. Maybe there's another race that they could find, and with Isabel knowing that she can be a little bit more positive, that could work. Also, could go up in trip. Definitely one to keep an eye out for. Patriotic. Hopefully the handicapper leaves him alone on 120. Moving on to the 12:35 at Leopardstown. There was 2 in this race that I said to keep an eye out for. The first one, Nürburgring. Now, I've got an idea about Nürburgring. I wonder whether they might do this. I wonder whether they might go back to hurdles and say that that's the reason for his form just suddenly being significantly better. Back over hurdles, back into that county hurdle. Where did he finish at Cheltenham? Finished 4th last year at Cheltenham in the very good Triumph hurdle. Yeah, put him back over hurdles, put him back into the county. Could be nicely handicapped. They might have, when they won that Galway hurdle, was it Galway hurdle? I think it was. When they won at Galway in August, they might have gone, wow, we've got a horse that's ridiculously well handicapped. And they've seen the new handicap mark and gone, that's not enough. How do we keep him on that same handicap mark then? Run him over fences, which as a 4-year-old he's just struggling with. They might come back over hurdles off a 150 mark, and the handicapper might even drop him a little bit because he's been so disappointing since. The county hurdle is where I think we actually might see Nürburgring now. The other horse in the race that I'm keeping an eye out for as soon as he goes handicapping is No Flies on Him. I made that in a tweet. I said that this was a horse that I was interested in. I noticed that the stewards actually inquired into the running and riding of this one because he was given far too much to do. He ran on into 3rd. They're planning something with him. He's only 5. He's still lightly raced. He will be very interesting when he goes into handicaps. If he's given a respectable mark. If he gets a silly mark, then you instantly go, well, actually, that's a load of rubbish. Given something around the 130s, I think he could be very interesting over fences. Moving on. Now, this is the biggest one of the week. I'm still convinced about this. Lilos ran a huge race for 3rd over 2 Mile 3. He doesn't want 2 Mile 3. His best 2 runs of his career, in my opinion, came when winning a Coral Gold Cup at Newbury, also known as the Hennessy, over 3 Mile 2. And actually when he finished 10th in the Grand National, travelled and went well for a long way before just getting tired late on. Didn't quite stay the trip. So for a horse who didn't quite stay 4 Mile 2, what on earth is he doing running over 2 Mile 3? Getting his handicap mark down. Got beat 8.5 lengths, or 8.25 lengths, by Lowry's Bar and Can You Call. The handicapper might well drop him another couple of pounds. Say he drops him to 139. He would be running off 139, which is £7 lower than when winning the Coral Gold Cup. £7 lower than when winning the Coral Gold Cup, or just £2. No, he would be £3 lower than when he went off 6-1 second favourite for a Pertemps final last year. And for a horse who's a chaser anyway, this horse is so well handicapped as soon as they go over a suitable trip. His effort at the beginning of the season over a suitable trip, 3 Mile 1, was good. Just needed the run. The last couple of runs, he's dropped in trip and dropped in trip again. They are looking after him. They are saving him for something. I'm really hopeful it's the Ultima. Next, I want to talk about another one of Dan Skelton's, West Balboa. Disappointed in 4th, beaten 11 lengths under Heidi Palin. handicapper hopefully drops the horse a bit more. Drop him back to 139. If he ends up off 139, he'd be £3 lower than when finishing a good third in a feature handicap at the end of the season at Aintree. I think that's where they'll be aiming him. His form at Aintree is very good. It now reads 113. He's won off 142, granted in a conditions race. He's won off 135. She's won off 135, sorry. She's won off 135, 142, and finished third off 141. If she turns up in the 130s, anywhere in the 130s, and goes back to Aintree, I would be very interested in her towards the end of the season. Next horse, Phantom of the Points, should have won. Don't know what happened right at the finish, drifted badly over to this near side, was going to win under Jack Tudor, threw it all away, ended up finishing fourth. Now this is all about, does the handicapper leave him alone? If he does, he should be able to win next time if he runs straight. He's shown off this 126 mark, he's capable of beating horses of this calibre. He just needs to run straight at the finish. Very surprised to see him run off. That was a bit frustrating for us. But yeah, I'd be disappointed if Phantom of the Points doesn't win this season. Next horse I want to talk about is Batman Zrak, who was comfortably beaten at Leopardstown for Willie Mullins. Now, interestingly, obviously, Willie Mullins' horses did disappoint. They didn't run anywhere near their level that they were expecting. There was quite a few that bombed out. There were still some that ran well whilst getting beat, the likes of Ballyburn and Lossiemouth. I actually thought they ran well, just got beat, rather than disappointed and got beat. Now, this was Batman Zrak's first run of the season into handicap company. Probably needed the run anyway, but with Willie Mullins' horses all running or a lot of them running poorly, you can forgive this run, and you've got to be interested next time out for Batman Zrak. I don't totally know where it's going to be. You'd probably look at where has the horse ran well before. Leopardstown was one of those, but also Punchestown. Finished 6th, not beaten that far by Carget, Spotless Secret, Nürburgring, Stormheart, Eastern Legend. Probably a good run that in the Grade 1 at Punchestown. Keep an eye out for Batman Zrak at Punchestown at the end of the season in one of those handicaps. Editor de Gite. I actually tweeted before the race that I was keeping an eye out for Editor de Gite, and I hoped he got comfortably beaten because I've got another race in mind for him. And I got a reply back, and it was a fair reply, saying surely today was the day on the 27th of December, in that he'd won that race the year before. Yes, he had won the Desert Orchid Handicap Chase the year before. If you actually look back through the form, Boot Hill fell. The rest of them were quite old or not good enough, whereas this looked a little bit better. This looked a stronger race. This looked to have a few improvers such as Martator and Soul Icon. It looked to have just a better horse in Edwardstone also running in it. Nube Negra I don't ever think achieved as much as Edwardstone, so it was probably a better race anyway. And getting beat might not be the end of the world for Editor de Gite. Got beat off a mark of 150 with Freddy taking 5 off. Now, if the horse drops, I think they're gonna be really quite aggressive here. The handicapper got beat 45 lengths. I can see the horse getting dropped another 5 down to 145. Now, if he turns up off 145 in something like the Grand Annual, I would think he could be interesting. Go forward. Yeah, maybe feel like claiming again. If you ended up claiming 5, Freddy Mitchell claiming 5 in the Grand Annual, and the horse effectively running off a mark of 140, he could get loose on the lead. And that could be very interesting. He's ran in the race before. He finished 4th, beaten 6 and a bit lengths off a mark of 153, when trying to make all the running didn't quite hang on. Yeah, I think he could be interesting if they go for the Grand Annual now, off a significantly lower mark. I think the handicap is going to be aggressive here and drop him £4 or £5 for that. Moving on, the Coral Welsh National, the two that I'm still interested in are the two selections we had. Gallia de la Toe didn't get the ground soft enough. It was officially soft, but I know that it was riding a bit, it felt like it was riding a bit quicker than that. That wasn't soft enough for Gallia de la Toe, and it probably wasn't soft enough either for Your Own Story, who was right out the back and made good ground late on to finish 6th. They finished 5th and 6th. They both wanted softer conditions. The handicapper can't do anything with them. If anything, he might drop them. If he drops Gallia de la Toe, say, £1, that horse would be £1 lower than when finishing 2nd in the Classic Chase. That's surely where we're going to see Gallia de la Toe. It's quite quick. Quite a quick turnaround. That is on the 11th of January. So what would the horse have had? Let's try and do the math there. Ran on the 27th, 16 days off the track. That might be enough, you know, to then run in the Classic Chase at Warwick. Finished 2nd in it last year, as I said, went off 5-1. Could end up off a lower handicap mark this year. Gallia de la Toe would definitely interest me in a Classic Chase, especially if the ground can come up soft heavy. That's what I think Gallia de la Toe needs. And Your Own Story probably just needs to go back up to 4 mile again. There are races coming up over 4 mile. Could end up even in something like the Midlands National, which can end up soft heavy going. That should really suit Your Own Story, who looks to just be short of pace, can't keep up, and then runs on strongly at the end. We keep going. 3-card Bragg caught my eye here. You could see he went 1.76. That was mental that he went so short. 1.76. Odds on in the run. Ended up finishing 7th. That's because he pulled his way to the front and looked like he was going to hang on. I imagine they'll want to try and hold on to him or get him to settle a bit better next time. If he does, the fact that he went so far clear on the bridle, travelled really nicely, just didn't stay because he was so keen early. There's a race in 3-card Bragg, I'm sure. At Kempton, the horse that I was interested in here was Kitty's Light, well beaten off 137. Will drop again in the handicap. I think might drop to, say, 134. That might be another £3 off 134. Could be, well, is exceptionally well handicapped off 134. Could then be looking at the Scottish National again, or the Ida Chase. But I hope they go for the Scottish National, because that's Scottish National Bet365 Gold Cup. That's where I'd be going with Kitty's Light. Handicap Hurdle. We've got 3 more to go, I think. Handicap Hurdle here. Really like Val Grand. There is no way that Val Grand has regressed so much. 3 runs ago, Val Grand was going off 5-6 to beat Potter's Charm. Potter's Charm has since won the Formby Novices Hurdle, the Grade 1, whereas Val Grand has been beaten comfortably in 2 handicaps. Because of that, the handicap is going to drop him again. He's going to be dropped. I can see him dropped now to 134. I think they're aiming him at the county hurdle. He's got enough runs now under his belt. They might go one more run, try and run him in another handicap. They get him beat. He ends up in the county hurdle and they go, you know, we'll put some cheek pieces on, which put some blinkers on to spark him back to life. And then suddenly he shows his early season form when he was winning a Grade 2, beating Gail Marler comfortably. So yeah, don't give up on Val Grand. Keep an eye out for when it goes in a handicap, and keep an eye out for when it's a handicap worth winning. This one wasn't, 11 grand. And keep an eye out for when they put something on to try and give them a reason why he bounced back to form. Penultimate one is Jolie Smoke, who disappointed when sent off the 5-2 favourite here. He did bleed again from the nose. That's why he went from travelling really well to stopping. You can see that he traded 1.75 in the run. He just stopped all of a sudden, but he bled from the nose. He can win off this handicap mark. He just needs to be sound, really. So I wouldn't be completely giving up on him, but if he does keep bleeding, that will start to be an issue for me going forward. And finally, the last one I want to mention is, we've already mentioned him, In the Waterside. I thought that was a hugely impressive performance. 1-off-132, anything up to 140, I think he can win again in a similar type of handicap. Obviously, up to 140, he would also be able to get in another handicap like this, which would be ideal for him. Yeah, just wanted fences, didn't he? And he really showed that he jumped beautifully at the front. I think did he make 2 mistakes late on, but other than that, he jumped perfectly all the way around. So yeah, he's a nice type going forward. Anything up to 140, and I think he can go very well in similar races. So they are the handicappers that I am interested in going forward. We will do a handicap analysis video tomorrow as well, where probably a lot of these are mentioned, including their supposed or suggested targets.